All right, last time we talked about simplifying radicals. Now 11.3, we're talking about multiplying radicals. Really, multiplying radicals is just adding a couple more steps to simplifying radicals. It's using all the same things we talked about last lesson, but just adding another step or two. So it's pretty simple when you think about it. So here's an example, the square root of 2 times the square root of 6. Well, all I have to do is multiply what is inside together. I get the square root of 12. And then I simplify just like I normally simplify. Remember prime factorization. So 12 is going to be 2, 2, and 3. Remember, if it's a square root, every 2, I pull that out. Whatever's left stays inside. So my answer is 2 square root of 3. That simple. Now this time, I have numbers both on the outside and on the inside. So if I have numbers both on the outside and on the inside, I want to multiply the numbers that are on the outside together, and then multiply the numbers that are on the inside together. But what I would recommend you doing is first do the prime factorization for the inside numbers. So 18, that's 2, 9, 3, 3. So I have 2, 3, 3. 50, 2, 25, 5, and 5. So I have 2, 5, 5. So the reason why I want you to do that first, otherwise you're going to have to do 18 times 50. You're going to get a really big number, and that's going to be a lot harder to do the prime factorization for. So it's easier to do the prime factorization for the smaller numbers and then put them all together inside. Then I do the same thing. Since it's a square root, every time I have 2 numbers, that goes on the outside. 2 3s, that goes on the outside. 2 5s, that goes on the outside. Guess what? I don't have anything left. So I don't have a square root. All I have to do is multiply all my outside answers. Negative 10 times 2 times 3 times 5. That's going to give me negative 300. So my answer is negative 300. Since every single one of these had a square root, that means that there was nothing left inside, so I don't have a square root inside. So if you have this type of problem, multiply the outside, then I would simplify. I would do the prime factorization of each one of these, put those all inside together as one, and then simplify from there. Now I have both letters and numbers. What am I going to do? Well, you do the same thing. You're going to multiply everything that's inside times everything that's inside. That's going to give you 12a. I have 2b, so that's b squared. I have 2c, so that's c squared. I simplify 12. I already did that up here, so that's going to be 2. And then the 3 is going to stay inside. I have an a. I only have 1, so that stays inside. B squared, I have 2 b's, so I pull 1 out, and I have none left. 2 c's, so I pull 1 out, and I have none left inside. So my answer is 2bc, and then the square root of 3a. So you can see this is very similar to what we did last time with simplifying roots. Here, I have 225 and 315. Notice they're both cubed roots. Again, I'm multiplying them, but again, I would simplify each one of these first. I'm sorry, not simplify. I would do the prime factorization of each one first, and then put them all together. So I'm not going to do the prime factorization. I'm just going to do it on the board since it's a little bit longer. So for 225, that would be 3, 3, 5, 5. For 315, that's going to be 3, 3, 5, and 7. Now remember, this is a cubed root, so for every 3 numbers that are the same, I can pull out 1. So I have 1, 2, 3 3s, so I can pull out 1 on the outside. I have 1, 2, 3 5s, so I can pull out 1 5 on the outside. And then I'm left with a 3 on the inside and a 7 on the inside. So that's going to be 21. And don't forget that cubed root. And then multiply my outside numbers. 3 times 5 is 15. So I have 15. And then the cubed root of 21 is my answer. So remember, every number that I pull out, I multiply those together. Any numbers that are left inside, I multiply those together. And please, if the root is not, if it's not a square root, if there's a number here, you have to have that number. If you don't, it will be wrong. So please pay careful attention to that index. That's very important. Here I have a similar idea, but this time I also have letters. Again, I'm just going to put them all together. So I'm going to do my prime factorization of 4 and 32 first. So that's 2 and 2 for 4. For 32, that's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And then I have x cubed, x squared times x, y to the 6th, y to the 5th times y, and then z. Okay, this is a cubed root, so every 3 I pull out 1. 1, 2, 3 2's, so 1, 2 goes on the outside. 1, 2, 3 2's, another 2 goes on the outside, and I have 1, 2 left on the inside. I have 3 x's, so I have 1 on the outside with none left over. I have 6 y's, that means I have 2 groups of 3, so I have 2 y's on the outside, that's y squared with none left over. I only have 1 z, so that stays on the inside. If I can multiply on the outside, I multiply that together. And again, this is a cubed root, so let me just separate this so it's clear. It's a cubed root, so don't forget that cubed here, 2z. So my final answer is 4xy squared cubed root of 2z. So everything that has 3, you pull out 1. Whatever's left is inside, and then whatever's on the outside, you multiply together. So for every 3, you pull out 1. How about this one? Well, I'm just going to use the distributive property, right? So I do the square root of 5 times the square root of 3, that's the square root of 15. Square root of 5 times negative 2. Now remember, this is not a square, so I have to leave that on the outside, and then the square root of 5 stays as the square root of 5. So when I'm multiplying a number by a square root, the number stays on the outside, the square root, I can't put those together. I can't simplify 15 because that's just 1 5 and 1 3. I can't subtract these, so that is my answer. Notice these are not being multiplied, so I'm not going to multiply them together. Leave it like that. Over here I have another one, 2 square root of 6 times the square root of 15. So the outside numbers, there's no number outside, so I'm just left with 2. 6, I'm going to do the prime factorization, 2, 3, 15 is 3 and 5. I have 2 3's, so I can pull out a 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and then I have a 2 and a 5 left, that's 10. Then I'm going to multiply this times this. So remember, distributive property, this times the first one, and then this times the second one. 2 times, don't forget that negative. Negative 3 is negative 6. And then I have 6 and 10. 6 is 2 and 3. 10 is 2 and 5. Again, I have 2 2's, so that gets on the outside. I'm left with a 3 and the 5 on the inside, that's 15. So I have 6 square root of 10, and then 6 times 2 is 12, square root of 15. I can't do anything more with that, so that is my answer. One last thing, in your lesson, at the very end of the lesson, it has a problem that's a little tricky, so I just wanted to go over that with you. So for number 34, it says the length of an edge of a cube is the cubed root of 3x to the 5 units. Express the volume in the simplest terms. So first we need to know what the formula is for the volume of a cube. So remember, the formula for the volume of a cube is E cubed, the edge cubed. So it tells me what the edge is, so all I have to do is cube that. Cube that. Now remember, if I have a cubed root and I cube something, then whatever is inside the square root, that is my answer. So hopefully that will help you with that problem.